Hey guys, it's James from the Lore Masters, and today we are bringing you part 4 of our set review, and this time we are going through all of the Ruby cards. So similar to the previous videos, there's 34, and we're going to go through them one by one. I'm going to tell you what's good, what's bad, what's competitively viable, and what's not so much. Right, let's begin. So the first card is 3-drop Abu. It's 3 attack, 2 toughness with 2 lore points, and no ability. Every colour has got one of these 3 drops, but all of them have 3 toughness except this card for some reason. None of them are particularly competitively viable, especially this one, because it dies to fire the cannons and also grab your sword, and it doesn't particularly combo with anything, so I won't spend too much time on this one. Got 7-drop Aladdin, Heroic Outlaw. It's 5 attack, 5 toughness with 2 lore points. It has Shift 5. And during your turn, when this character banishes another character in a challenge, you gain 2 lore and each opponent loses 2 lore. I like this card a lot. It's very easily accessible because it's in one of the starter decks, and it pairs very well with the 3-drop Aladdin that we're going to see in a second, but you can use also the 2-drop Emerald Aladdin with Ward to shift this onto as well. But yeah, when you pair it with the 3-drop, which costs your opponent 1 lore when it enters, you can then shift onto this, attack something and beat it. You gain 2 extra lore, they lose 2 extra lore. So it's nice little lore swing in your favour. But yeah, rate this card a lot. So here's that Aladdin. So it's a 2/2. Like I say, when you play this character, each opponent loses 1 lore, and it's got 1 lore point as well. It means that you don't have to use green if you didn't want to. You can just use ruby. Use this Aladdin in the 7-drop and then play another colour to go alongside it. So you've got 5-drop Captain. It's a 6/5 with 1 lore point and no ability. This works with the pirate in Steel. I believe when you control this card, the other pirate gains an extra lore point. So that's a little combo that you can go with it. Its stats are very good. It's very similar to Cerberus in Steel, but Cerberus has 5 attack and 6 toughness instead. So not bad if your deck just needs a little bit of raw power. So you got 7-drop Hook. It's uninkable. So it's a 5 attack, 5 toughness with 2 lore points. It has Rush, and when this character is exerted, opposing characters with Evasive gain Reckless, which means that they can't quest and they must challenge. This is a nice way for Ruby to deal with evasive cards that they wouldn't ordinarily be able to touch outside of just straight up removal or their own evasive cards themselves. Even Brave Little Tailor Mickey has 5 attack and 5 toughness as well, so it would have to crash into this hook. So against an evasive deck, it'd be very nice. So if you do face a lot of evasive in your local meta, give this card a consider. So you got 2-drop Donald Duck. It's 2 power, 3 toughness with 1 lore point. Every colour has got one of these. It doesn't synergise with anything. It's just a good static card for the cost, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. So you got 4-drop Elsa, 3 power, 4 toughness with 1 lore point. Has the ability, whenever you play a character named Anna, ready this character. This character can't quest for the rest of this turn. The only Anna that exists in the game is in Amethyst, and she's also a 4-drop. So you wouldn't be able to kind of drop them turn after turn, because they are both 4. You'd have to play one and then play the other off curve. But generally that ability is not worth it. You might get 2 attacks out of it, or you could sing a song and then quest all in the same turn. You know, it's not worth playing it, especially as those 2 colours together don't particularly synergise very well right now. Gaston, so he's a 2-drop, 4/2 with Reckless, 0 lore points. He's not bad to trade up to larger things, but he does die to fire the cannons and grab your sword as well. But he also unfortunately does lose to all of the 1-drops that have 2 attack and 2 toughness as well. So he's not worth playing against someone who does that. But the fact he is inkable, you don't have to play it at that point. He does work well with the Amber LeFou, because the Amber LeFou goes to 1 cost when you control this card. So Goofy, it's a 5-drop 3/4 with 2 lore points and evasive. Just forms part of the evasive package. These decks can be incredibly annoying if you don't have the tools to answer them. Early in the game, there was just pure evasive decks that were very hard to counter. I'm not so sure how viable they are right now. I guess time will tell. So LeFou, 2-drop, 2/2 with 1 lore point. When you play this character, ready chosen character, they can't quest for the rest of this turn. So it's designed to work with things like Aladdin Heroic Outlaw or Mulan, or you could even use the character to quest and then untap it, then sing a song. So you could use them with a lot of things. So this card is definitely useful if you're pairing it with the right thing. So 9-drop Maleficent, 7/5 with 2 lore points. When you play this character, you may banish chosen character. We knew about this card very early on from the D23 Expo promos. Early in the game, getting to 9 ink was just seen as really unlikely. But now with all the ramp cards that we have, and your opponent using things like Let It Go and the new Hades, getting to 9 ink is always possible. I wouldn't use this card though if you don't run ramp yourself, so it would fit well inside a red-blue deck. Maui, Hero to All, he's a 5-drop, 6/5 with Rush and Reckless. Very good attacker. The fact he's inkable as well, I believe this is the first Rush card that is inkable. 0 lore points because he has Reckless, but very good if you just want to get rid of a couple of your opponent's characters and just quest with them. This card can't do anything other than just get rid of a few characters, but then again, he's very good stats for the cost. Mickey Mouse Brave Little Tailor, so he's an 8-drop, 5/5 with Evasive. Before Bell came about, he was the highest lore points in the game, but technically he still is because he will always have 4, whereas Bell only goes to 5 when you have 10 ink. All part of the Evasive deck as well. If you can get this card to stick, he can win a game very quickly, especially with multiple copies of it. 1-drop Minnie Mouse, so it's a 1/3 with 1 lore point. No ability, it doesn't synergize with anything. I'm not going to spend too much time on this one. So 5-drop Moana, chosen by the ocean, 2 power, 6 toughness with 2 lore points, and has the ability, when you play this character, you may banish chosen character named Takar. This is a very specific removal. There's only 2 Takars in the game. One of them is steel, one of them is in ruby, which we'll see in a moment. I suppose if there's a sideboard, I don't know whether it's going to happen in this game, it might be useful if you see a lot of Takars in your local meta. But other than that, it probably isn't usable. It's quite specific. I suppose you could always slip in a few copies if you're against friends who use Takar all the time. But yeah, without a side deck, it's probably too specific to include in your main deck. So 5-drop Mulan, so it's a 4 attack, 5 toughness, with the ability, when during your turn, whenever this character banishes another character in a challenge, your other characters get +1 lore this turn. So quite handy if you've got a fairly wide board and you want to quest for lots that turn. You can use LeFou or Fan the Flames to untap this card and then attack again, so you can get kind of double the boost almost. But she's also in one of the, I think it's the Treasure Trove she's in, so you can get easy copies of this. But yeah, definitely play it in a Ruby deck. So you got Peter Pan, he's a 3-drop uninkable with 3/2 and Rush and 1 lore point. There is a Tinkerbell in Emerald that can give this card Challenger +1, so it goes to 4 attack when it swings. But as a standalone card, Rafiki is a little bit better in Amethyst because it has 3 toughness and the exact same cost. So I'm not quite sure how usable this card actually is. So 4-drop Pongo, so it's 2 attack, 3 toughness with 2 lore points. Again, makes part of the Evasive package, so you've got an Evasive card to play on turn 4. If you can't get rid of it, it will soon take over the game. But yeah, play this with a bunch of other Evasives, and you have got one very annoying deck. So 6-drop uninkable Rapunzel, so she's a 5/4 with 2 lore points. When you play this character, each opponent loses 1 lore. Not a bad card at all. You play it together with the 3-drop Aladdin and also the 7-drop Aladdin as well, if you can make space for her. Her stats aren't bad at all for a 6-drop. It just depends if you can justify one of your uninkable slots on her. Scar, 4-drop, 5/3 with 1 lore point. It's very good stats for its cost, one of the highest attack kind of cards as a 4-drop, but its 3 toughness makes it a little bit vulnerable. Unfortunately, because it has no ability, there's probably better 4-drops you could be playing, but it's certainly not a bad card stats-wise. And then you got the 8-drop uninkable Scar, so it's a 6/6 with shift 6. When you play this character, ready your characters with cost 3 or less. They can't quest for the rest of this turn. There hasn't been a deck that's utilised this card yet, and there may not be. It may be one to come back to in the future. but so far no one's kind of figured out a deck to utilise this, which is a shame because I love the artwork on it and Scar's a great character anyway. Right. You got Sergeant Tibbs, so it's a 1-drop 2/2 with no ability and 1 lore point. Every colour has got one of these, they're nothing special. It doesn't particularly combo with anything outside of Stitch Rockstar. So you got 6-drop Stitch Abomination, so it's 4 attack, 6 toughness with 3 lore points. This is a better version of Mufasa in blue because it has 1 extra attack point. I would probably utilise this in a blue-red ramp deck just so you can gain very fast lore, and 6 toughness is nothing to sniff at. Yeah, I like it, cool card. So you got 6-drop Uninkable Takar, so it's an 8 power, 6 toughness with no lore points because it's got Reckless. This card is very, very big, so generally it will take out a couple of characters. It does get killed by the Moana that we saw just a little while ago, but this card is not particularly playable. If you're wanting to use a Reckless card, you'd be better off using the Maui, because at least that one is inkable. So you got 6-drop Tigger, so it's a 4/4 with 2 lore points. Again, makes part of the Evasive package to create one annoying deck. So if that's something that you want to play, then you can do. So 7-drop Uninkable Be Prepared. It's a song that just says banish your characters. One of the best Ruby cards in my opinion. I faced against this card many times and it is frustrating to play against every single time. You can use your Aladdin to sing it for free and then use all of your ink to play things after the board is wiped, which means then you get a head start on the board. But even just in a control deck, using this card just to reset the board every time your opponent overextends. When you're against Ruby, you need to be aware that this card exists, especially when you get to the 7 ink mark, or that your opponent has a 7 cost on the board, because chances are your opponent is probably going to have a copy in your hand, so you just need to not overextend into it. You got 2-drop Cut to the Chase action card. Chosen character gains Rush this turn. The fact it's inkable is decent, but giving something Rush is a -1 in terms of card advantage. If you really wanted to give it Rush because you want to use its ability the turn it comes down, so things like Mulan or 7-drop Aladdin, if you didn't shift into it, then I guess it's justifiable, but chances are it's probably not worth it because, like I say, you are costing a card just to give yourself Rush. Dragonfire, it's a 5-drop Uninkable, very simple, banish chosen character. There are a lot of annoying characters that you can get rid of with this card, so it is worth running a couple of copies in your Ruby deck, just because it does get rid of evasive things, it gets rid of big cards, it gets rid of Hades, it gets rid of Tinkerbell, lots and lots of good targets that you can get rid of. So yeah, definitely use a couple of copies of this card. So 1-drop Fan the Flames, it's an action card, ready chosen character, they can't quest for the rest of this turn. This is just the same ability as the 2-drop LeFou that we saw earlier, just on an action card, and it costs 1 less ink as well. So same sort of combos, use it with your Aladdin Heroic Outlaw, use it with Mulan, use it with whatever you just kind of want to get 2 attacks or 2 uses out of in a turn. He's got a sword, 1-drop action card, chosen character gets +2 attack this turn. Generally isn't worth playing because you're using 2 cards to get rid of one of your opponents. So if you're losing your character in the challenge, then yeah, you're just spending 2 cards on one of theirs, which is rarely worth it. Generally try to avoid using these cards if I suggest. And then you got 2-drop Tangle, each opponent loses 1 lore. You could use this in the same deck as the Aladdin, but generally spending a card to make your opponent lose 1 lore is not worth it. You might as well just run the max amount of copies you can of the 3-drop Aladdin and also the Aladdin 7-drop as well, and you've got Rapunzel as well just to do this. You're better off kind of using something else in this spot, but at least it's inkable. So 3-drop Poisoned Apple, so pay 1 ink, banish this item, exert chosen character. If a princess character is chosen, banish her instead. Very much a sideboard card if we do get sideboards. I wouldn't main deck this because just exerting a character is not worth paying a free cost item and then paying 1 ink more. But if your opponent is using princesses, or princesses are kind of big in your local meta, this card might be worth it. But yeah, I wouldn't kind of put it main deck. So 1-drop Shield of Virtue. So you can exert this card and pay 3 ink, ready chosen character. They can't quest for the rest of this turn. Very similar to LeFou and Fan the Flames, just in an item, so it's reusable over and over. It's up to you whether you can justify 3 ink to ready a chosen character, but at least this card only costs 1 to play, which is decent. And it's inkable as well, so if you can get use out of it, go for it. And then you've got a 4-drop, uninkable Sword of Truth. Banish this item, banish chosen villain character. This one is actually a little bit better. There is a lot of playable villains in the game. You've got Hades, you've got Scar, you've got a lot of the things in Emerald as well are villains, so you can get rid of hands, you can get rid of a lot of things. So whether this card is main deckable, it all depends on what people in your local area are going to be playing. But again, it's probably just a sideboard card, just to get rid of your opponent's annoying cards. Right, that is the full Ruby set in a nutshell. We hope you've enjoyed it, guys. So please come back tomorrow, because we're going to be doing video number 5, and we're getting towards the end, so we're seeing some of the nicer cards in Steel and Sapphire. But yeah, cheers for watching, guys, and I'll catch you later.